What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. You know, I was really nervous when I first started making these videos, and I realized how nervous I was by watching some of the old stuff. Maybe it was a little bit subdued, but I definitely wasn't in character and as comfortable as I am right now. Like, I remember I was just like redoing the lines over and over because I wanted to try to get them just right. But now it just feels natural to say the intros and just talk and blabber on. I feel like I could probably just like blabber on about anything here and just, I feel comfortable. You know, it feels kind of nice. And it's all thanks to y'all for making this place, this channel, feel like second home. Anyway, let's get to some RPG horror stories for today. DM made character immune to fire take heat damage. In our D&D crew, I was the regular DM, but because of forgotten issues, someone else had taken over. A character used a form of levitation to try to get across a river of lava. As he passed over the lava, the DM said, "Okay, you take X points of damage from being so close to the lava." The afflicted player said, "I'm immune to fire damage." The DM responded, "It's not fire damage, it's heat damage." What? That is the same thing though. Fire, hot, heat. Fire is hot, heat is hot. Both fire and heat are hot damage, which is just fire damage. What is this DM pulling this out from? Was this one of those obscure things that people add to like their campaign in order to pull some sort of nonsense, some bullcrap? This understandably confused everyone and led to an argument that heat and fire were the same thing. Someone even pulled up the Game Masterly guide where it said immunity to fire meant immunity to lava. The DM said that only counted towards direct contact with lava, not from the heat coming off the lava. He would not budge. Oh my god, that is actually stupid. That is actually infuriatingly dumb. You can use this for anything. Oh, is that cold damage? Well, yeah, but I'm immune to cold damage. Oh, but you see, it's not cold damage, my friend. It's frost damage because you're close to a thing and the frost and the chill. It's chill damage. It's chill damage because you got close to the ice, not direct contact with ice. Poison? You immune to poison damage? Well, see, it's smell damage. I guess. It's smell damage because the smell is so potent and toxic, it hurts your nostrils. And you take a little bit of damage, you take X damage from smell damage. Oh, you're immune to psychic damage? Well, you forgot one thing. Psychic damage has a byproduct, apparently, that is now cringe, because it made you think of a cringy moment, a cringy memory from your past, and now that hurts you cripplingly. It's not psychic damage, it's cringe damage. Reading this fucking story is giving me cringe damage, dude. Jesus Christ, what is this? This is stupid. I didn't witness the situation directly, but it was repeatedly repeated to me as the players begged me to DM again. I will say that DM did eventually grow and become a pretty good DM over time. He confided in me that he didn't want to reverse a ruling so early on his DMing career because he didn't want to seem like a pushover. To not back down from heat damage, it just makes you look like a stubborn idiot. It's not making you look like a pushover, it makes you look dumb, and you committed, and you're doubling down on the dumb thing. Listen, some hills are worth dying onto, but to die on a hill of it's not fire damage, it's heat damage is stupid. There are some hills worth dying on. This ain't one of them. This is not gonna make you look a pushover, it just makes you look stubborn and stupid. The importance of communication. This isn't the worst RPG horror story ever, it's more just a lesson in clarification and communication. You know, every time somebody mentions that this isn't the worst RPG horror story, it gets pretty bad. So I don't know how bad it's gonna be, so brace yourselves, we're in for some cringe. It was in a game that had mild sexual elements, and one of the big rules we established early on is that we did not want on-screen grapes. Is it okay to say grape for that word? Am I gonna get in trouble? Struggle snuggle is too long. I think I'll try that for a few videos, see what happens. Grape or sexual assault. Having it as a backstory was allowed, but it couldn't be part of the main game, and it certainly couldn't happen to any player or NPC. During a session, we were traveling through some woods. We came across a scene that appeared to be a goblin accosting an elven woman about to do unsavory things to her. Right, DM, it seems like they're pulling back on their initial agreement of no grape and assault. Immediately alarm bells go off in my head and I say, DM, didn't we establish no, you know, this sort of thing? DM nods. Yes, make a perception roll, everyone. Everyone does, and a couple of players roll high enough that the DM points out that, while the elven woman was no fighter or barbarian, She appeared strong enough to punt the goblin and run if she wished, and that her cries for help seemed a little too over the top, as if she was acting. Still worried but deciding to trust the DM, I left the scene play out. As it turns out, the two were a couple trying to do kinky roleplay scenario, and it actually ended on a wholesome note when the goblin decided he wanted to end the scene because he just wasn't feeling this and felt bad even pretending to do this. He kept apologizing, to which the elven woman just kissed him and said there was nothing to apologize for, and it would only be fun if they were both into it, and she was glad he was honest. So the players stumbled in on a couple doing some sort of like a kinky roleplay over like, "Oh no, goblin man, please don't assault me. I am such a vulnerable elf girl." Is this like Goblin Slayer fetish? Goblin Slayer had a very unique scene, I think in the first episode, that was very jarring to a lot of people. And I've seen posts, I remember in the time when it was launched, I've seen posts, other people memeing or not, I'm not sure, them being like, "Oh, this unlocked a fetish for me." And you know what? I actually have a couple of friends that are into like gangbangs with like goblins and stuff, like unironically, they actually kind of find it kinky. So I mean, I guess to each their own, but to stumble upon that, I hope there's a reason for it and it's not just DM pulling that in for the sake of pulling that in, you know? I mean, yes, subverts the expectations of what you expect is going to happen, but why? The two ended up being quest givers and recurring beloved NPCs. We loved seeing them to be all cute and doting on each other, and they even adopted an orphan child from one of our later quests. And while we ended up loving the NPCs, I did have a talk with the DM about their introduction scene, as I still wasn't terribly comfortable with it. Apparently the DM thought that since we established that no rape or sexual assault would take place, that we could rest easy knowing that any scenario they presented was consensual. I could see the logic behind that, but would have appreciated having a warning still, even if it meant metagaming on the perception check. The DM understood, rarely had any scenes like that again, and for the handful of times they wanted to include one, asked our permission first. Like I said, not the worst story ever, just a lesson in clearing up communication and attentions with everyone at the table. I mean, good for y'all to talk this out, for real. For the DM to pull this, the DM probably thought in their head that, "Ooh, I'm gonna throw him with a zany twist. It's gonna be so funny because in my head it's so funny." But the players kind of didn't expect what's gonna happen, and at first they just, I mean, obviously from the start, you don't know what's going on. It looks like the goblin's gotta go to town on the elf, unconsensually, but turns out they're indeed a couple, and she was just into that sort of thing, and she really wanted the foreplay, but the goblin wasn't into it, but tried it for their misses anyway because they love them very much. It feels like a bit that didn't work out so well. But I guess the lesson is communicate with your players, even if you're gonna be doing something like this. Just let them know ahead of time that, hey, I'm gonna throw in a spicy scene, but nothing bad's happening, since we agreed from the very beginning of the session that we wouldn't have that sort of thing. Communicate with your players. Not every player's gonna be into some sort of even like a faux pas sexual situations, and yeah, just communication. Communication is important. My DM keeps misgendering my character and putting them in a weird situation, and I'm thinking of leaving after one session. Advice needed. Not sure if this would be the right place to post something like this, but I figured it was the best bet. Mods, please remove if not. A couple of weeks ago, my long-term D&D group went on break, and a friend of mine set me up with a joint campaign that she was playing in with some other friends of hers. I'll call her Hexblade because that's what she was playing. I'm acquainted with everyone in the group, but Hexblade is the one I know best, and the DM is the one who I know the least. I'm non-binary, and I play mostly non-binary characters, and this campaign was no different. On the DM's instruction, I rolled up a level 7 character, a half-elf artificer, sketching up some art for them and sent it over to the DM. He asked some questions about my character's backstory, using she/her pronouns from them, and referred to them as a lady and a chick. He said he understood, but I noticed that he conspicuously avoided using pronouns for my character and stuck to using their name for the rest of our short conversation, even when the repetition got unwieldy. I had a bad feeling about it, but I'd already committed to at least one session and wanted to give the DM a chance, in person, because maybe he just texted weird. I don't want to jump the gun in here, but I guess I could offer one possibility. I don't know if it's accurate or not, it's just a guess of a tiefling that doesn't know better. I think maybe the DM understood that you didn't want your character to be called she and her and using these kind of pronouns, so just to not assume, they thought maybe just to start with just using the name. Maybe they're not included on the general lingo for non-binary characters or something. It would be one thing if they continue just using she, her, and just didn't respect your wishes to not use she, her, but it looks like the DM tried their best not to use it and, you know, just kind of played it by ear. Maybe they didn't even know that they, them could be also used like that. I don't know, man. I don't want to jump the gun. Yesterday was our first session, and after a quick introduction, we got to playing. The first 10 or so minutes were spent with the current party coming into town and going to a pub where my character was, and the DM described my character tinkering while sipping on the drink and showing the rest of the players the sketch I sent him. In the narration, he again used she, her, and again corrected him while trying to phrase it as friendly reminder. But I don't know how it came off because he sounded a little annoyed as he went on with his narration. I also did this to let the rest of the party know because I drew them fairly androgynous, and I understand if someone would assume they were female just by appearance. One easy way to deal with this was just let the players introduce the characters themselves. I typically like to just let players introduce characters themselves because it allows the player to kind of describe their character, like in appearance and what they're doing, and maybe a little bit of quirks like, you know, different characteristics and stuff. Plus, it's a really easy way to just like mention, oh, you can use they, them for the pronouns, and there we go, just move on from there. I'm assuming the DM just was annoyed that she interrupted rather than anything, but who knows. Or alternatively, not assuming anything bad with the DM, not assuming with anybody, by the way, maybe the DM forgot that your character doesn't use a she, her, and maybe instead of annoyed, they got a little bit flustered, but it came off as annoyed. I don't know, man. I don't want to jump the gun, but at the same time, I don't want to have every character, like every obvious character, be painted with a single brush and stuff. There's so many layers to everybody. People are complicated. I don't know if this story is one of those overreaction stories or the DM is actually the bad guy, so I don't want to prejudge anything ahead of time because the writers sometimes do word things in a specific way to paint the opposition as worse than what they really were. So I don't know, man. My logic just goes all over the place. My character joined up with the party and play continued. At one point the party had an interaction with the city guards, basically a fantasy TSA in the setting, where we were asked to split by gender for a pat down. In my head I'm like, what am I supposed to do here, dude? Because I wasn't going to just pick a line as the DM said in character as an NPC, but I didn't want to make trouble for the party by fighting with the guards. In the end, I convinced the guards to let me pass without a pat down, using a lucky as hell persuasion check, and waited for the party on the other side of the checkpoint. I was more than a little miffed at that point, because I don't play D&D just to have my deal with the same BS to deal with IRL, but I tried to give the DM the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he already had this encounter planned before I joined, and for some reason couldn't change it. Maybe he was planning to have my character initiate combat. I really don't know why the DM would have it be split up as like male line, female line. I don't know. Maybe it's just the world building is like the more authoritarian and you have to split up in a specific line and people have to be split up by different classifications or something. I don't know, you could have a world where humans line up here, non-humans line up here and stuff like that. Or maybe the DM was trying to, I don't know, force you into a box or something. I don't know, dude. It seems really bizarre for the DM to do that too. Like, sounds like a stretch to use random NPCs to try to force you into one line or the other line. I don't know, man. It's a really weird situation, and I gotta be honest, I don't know if there's purposeful malice or if it's just world building. I have no idea. Anyway, we kept playing at the end. Our party got invited to the fancy party hosted by the Duke, whose province we saved. The DM read out the whole invitation and placed emphasis on a strict dress code, which had stipulations for men and women. The DM warned us that if we broke the dress code, there might be trouble. The rest of the party went on a fun mini-quest to find fancy clothes, while I sat in there wondering what the hell my character was supposed to do. When it came to my turn to pick clothes, I basically said screw it and described how my character picked out a flamboyant suit with a platform combat boots. The DM asked if I was sure about that because the dress code specified dresses for women. At this point I kinda snapped and said, Artificer isn't a woman. How many times do I have to say that before it gets through your thick skull? If you weren't cool with me playing a non-binary character, you should have just said so from the start. It would have saved both of us a lot of time. Then the DM backed off and ended the session without going to the actual party, which the other players seemed annoyed about. After the session, I talked to Hexblade about everything, and she said that this was the DM's first time running a game with a non-binary character, and he was probably still getting used to it. She promised to talk to him about it. Other than my frustration with the DM, the session was actually super fun. The party was awesome, and I kinda want to go back for a second session, especially if Hexblade manages to convince him to shape up, but at the same time, I really don't want to put up with another session of the same. I haven't played a lot outside of my usual group, but we've all known each other since forever. Is this kind of thing normal? Would I be overstepping if I asked the DM not to put my character in any more of these situations where their gender is a problem or an obstacle? I don't know what to do here. I feel like I'm in over my head. Without communication, how can understanding be reached? On the other hand, yeah, you could see where it could be a little more malicious that everything is constantly have to be kind of gendered. The dress code has to be gendered. The TSA line has to be gendered. What else are you gonna do? Ask the player which bathroom they're using, whether it's a male bathroom or a female bathroom for low reasons. If you're gonna go shopping for a new pair of boots, are they gonna ask, do you want male boots or female boots? I could see where it can come off extremely hella malicious and the DM is just kind of trying to put you in a box. And the DM shouldn't be putting your character in a box. I mean, if you already talked to the DM ahead of time and you said, hey, I'd like to play a non-binary character using they, them, is that okay? If the game is actually fun and the players were fun and it was just really strange world building that just didn't budge, I'll just ask the DM at that point like, hey, can I just choose willy-nilly? Am I allowed to do that? I mean, if anything, that's like the best of both worlds. You stand in any line, you wear any dress code you want to wear, do whatever you want, do anything you want to do. Probably the best thing to do is just have a sit down with the DM and explain to them, I just don't feel comfortable having my character be put into some sort of a box. I deal with that IRL, and I'd just like to have a character that can be played freely without having to choose option A or choose option B every single time. Maybe give a third option, an androgynous option or something like that, or I don't know, not deal with that. I understand the point of contention and understand the stress behind it. Or alternatively, you could just say, the game is not for me. I'm gonna just play my games, you guys enjoy your games, and just go with that. If there's something out there in the game, or from the DM, or anything within the game that's supposed to be fun, is causing you not to have fun, don't be part of it. Go to other avenues where you can have fun. Join other DMs and other games where you can have fun. If you're not having fun in this game, what's the point of trying to make it fun? Or what's the point of trying to butt heads with the DM the whole time? Just go join whatever games you want to join. Don't stay with this frustration. Only you can make yourself happy. So just ask yourself, is this worth staying for? Is the stress worth it? But at the end of the day, don't force yourself to stay in a game if it just something is not to your liking or it just stresses the hell out of you and not lets you have fun. Get yourself out of a bad situation, put yourself in a good situation instead. That's gonna be way more worth your time than staying in this game, you know? And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.